Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at an expansion for the deck building game Clank. We're going to be looking at Clank Adventuring Party. And in this expansion, you'll get some variable player powers, you'll get more cards, and you'll be able to play with 5 or 6 players. So in this video, we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of what is in this box. We'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like. We'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Clank Adventuring Party is worth your time of bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you after this.
Bollocks.
So, Clank Adventuring Party. What's in this expansion? So the first and main thing that you're going to find in this expansion is the ability to play Clank, a deck building game, with 5 or 6 players. This is made possible by the introduction of 6 different characters, each with their own player map. You've got Mr. Whiskers, who was a character on one of the cards in the original core game. You've got Garagnar, who looks like one of them morally complex orcs. You've got Monkey Bot Prime, who is a monkey bot who's probably in his prime. There's Lenara, who looks like a magic user. There's Agnet with a big fuck off hammer. And then you've got Alan, who is like an elf type character, right? Each one of these characters has got a new personalised deck. You're not going to be using the generic deck from the original game. And they also get a player mat, which gives them some unique special abilities. So for instance, Dallin is going to have some tokens that when you get the dragon's egg, a monkey idol, the crown, or you get an artifact, you'll be able to put a token onto the player board and it will give you a special ability. So like if you get the dragon egg, you'll be able to get -2 Clank. And if you put the crown token on there, then you don't have to stop in a crystal cavern, right? So Agnet's special ability is when you acquire a companion, you may spend a conscription token to put it on top of your deck. It's all right, isn't it? Monkey Bot Prime's ability is that every time you pull tokens out of the dragon bag, you'll be able to remove a token from your board. It will give you an icon that you can use every turn. There's up to 7 icons that you can use, so that's really, really powerful. Garagnar's got a claw token, and for the first combat of every turn, you'll be able to move the token around. You'll get a special ability, like you'll be able to draw an extra card, take a coin, or some other really feeble ability. And Mr. Whiskers has got some paw tokens, and you'll be able to turn these over to get special abilities, right? And Lenara's special ability is during each of your turns, you may spend mana to cast each of these spells once. 3 mana for Transfigure, it says discard a card and draw a card. 5 mana for Duplicate, copy a card in your play area, or 7 mana, you can levitate, acquire a card, and put it in your hand, right? So these do change the game up quite a bit. Makes the game a little bit more interesting, I suppose, than just having those generic dead cards in your hand, right? So there's also 35 extra dungeon cards that you could throw into the main deck. And these cards have what's called a reaction on them. There might be a condition that allows you to play this card out of turn, right? So you'll be able to put this card in your play area, draw a new card, and then activate that card on the next turn. So you might have the 2 bad for you card that says, as a reaction, if the opponent ends their turn with 2 or more of their Clank in the Clank area, you get to play that card. You might have Scouting Ahead, and it says you don't have to stop in crystal caverns this turn. Or you might have the Royal Brat. Got a couple of Royal Brats? No. And it says if you have a crown, take a minor secret, right? So these add more variety to the game there. Just chuck them in and away you go. So you got 5 extra artifacts. They've got purple backgrounds. You got the invisibility cloak item you can buy from the market, and this allows you to move through monster spaces without having to take damage. You've got some new minor secrets that you just chuck in, and you've got the sort of Hydra type boss marker that doesn't really do anything special. It's just there. So yeah, that's practically everything you're going to find in this expansion, right? So what do we like about Clank Adventuring Party? So the first thing that we really like about this is it gives you the option of playing with 5 or 6 players if you are crazy enough to do so. Our gaming group is regularly 5 or 6 players, so this is welcome for us. It gives us that option of playing Clank with a full complement of players rather than having to wait for a night where there is only 4 of us, which doesn't really happen that often these days. So yeah, the fact that you can play with 5 or 6 players makes this a quite tasty option. So the second thing that we like about this is that the variable player abilities spice the game up. It means you've got to constantly be watching what your opponents are up to, whether or not you can prevent them from activating their ability or slow them down from doing so, and they'll constantly be doing that. The fact that each character has their own deck, like Mr. Whiskers, as the Saunter card. It gets you to flip a behaviour token face down and gain its reward. And if you have an artifact, you double that token's reward. Or Monkey Bot Prime as the bulk card, and it says for each artifact you have, gain 1 Clank and 2 gold. And the Morally Complex Orc has the Scavenge card, and it says for each monster in the tunnel you defeat this turn, you gain a gold, right? So this sort of makes the game smell a little bit better than it did with those musty old cards from the original. So the third thing that we like about this is the fact that it gives you 35 more cards just to chuck in that deck. And as with all expansions, more stuff is good, right? It means you're going to have more things to see, more options, more ways to change the game up. And with games like Clank, where there is a finite amount of cards in the deck, you're going to want more and more cards as you play this more and more, because these games maybe can get a little bit stale the more you play them, right? Because you're going to be seeing all the cards, right? We're not calling for anything like Dominion scale with this game. We're not talking about 12 different expansions where you'll need to hire a garage to store all the stuff, right? We just like to spice things up a little bit after we've played this many, many, many times, right? What don't we like about Clank Adventuring Party? So the first thing that we don't like about this one is with 5 or 6 players, the game is too bloody long, because it's one of them games where you have to play all 5 of your cards. The game is sadly going to be bogged down by people thinking, well, I'm going to have to do that, I'm going to have to do that, I'm going to have to do that. And by the time your turn comes around, you've probably fallen half asleep. That's not to say that playing with 5 or 6 players is completely unplayable. It's not, but just be prepared for the game length and downtime to be increased by a substantial amount. So the second thing that we don't like about this, and this is our main gripe with this, is that the player powers are very, very unbalanced. We're talking about Monkey Bot Prime, right? I wouldn't recommend using that character in any of your games because it is severely overpowered. If you look at the Orc special ability, for instance, for the first monster he kills on his turn, he's just going to get a card and a coin. Monkey Bot Prime, when their special ability is activated, they get to use an icon, whether it's a boot, a sword, or whatever, and they can do that up to 7 times a turn. It means towards the end of the game, they're just going to be running through the dungeon, doing whatever the hell they like whilst everyone else is struggling. Yeah, so the player powers don't look like they've been play tested that much. So the final thing, third thing we don't like about this, is that more cards means that you're going to see less of the cards. What we do with this, we go through the deck before we play it and we take out any duplicates so that the deck still maintains that level of variety, but you're going to see more stuff, right? And obviously, I think there's like 100 odd cards in the core set. You add 35 to that and it does slow down the progress you're going to be making through the deck. And whilst it adds variety, it also takes away variety because you're not going to be drawing so many different cards, right? I'm a bit torn on that. I want more stuff, but I want to see more of that new stuff as well, right? So to summarise, is Clank Adventuring Party worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say yes. I suppose it all depends how much you like Clank, right? If you really, really like Clank, then I suppose you're going to go out and buy all the expansions anyway, because the map packs and all that are relatively cheap. This one retails for about 30 quid. I'm not really sure if it's actually worth that sort of money. It does give you loads of extra options to embellish your enjoyment of Clank, none of which are overly necessary. Like we said, it is overpriced for what it is because you're only really going to be getting 5 characters because that Monkey Bot Prime is well overpowered, right? The cards are welcome, but unless you house rule something in, you're not going to see all of them every game. And also the 5 to 6 player variant is like wading through a field of cow shit, right? Because it slows the game down too much. So there's pros and cons to this. I like Clank quite a bit. We play with a group of 6 players quite a bit. So really for me, this is a no-brainer because it gives me the option to play Clank when we got 6 players, right? But this would be the last expansion I would consider. I'd definitely go for the map packs and all the other shit that's available for Clank before I touch this with a 10-foot barge pole, right? So there you go, that's Clank Adventuring Party. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button and all that bullshit. We'll see you next time.